Hello everybody, I'm Catriona Morten, I'm a sensory motor psychotherapist, and today I'd like to talk to you about ways in which we can increase our capacity, our ability to cope, our resilience, and what we call in sensory motor psychotherapy our window of tolerance. But before I jump into that, if you're enjoying these videos, then please give us a like, subscribe to our channel, because it helps us get our message out to loads more of you. The window of tolerance is something that we're taught in our training in sensory motor psychotherapy, and it's a really useful model because it's got a bottom and a top, and in the middle it's our capacity, our emotional capacity, our ability to cope with feelings, pain, all kinds of things, is our level of capacity that we have, and resilience. And we're all different for a whole variety of reasons. And we're different on a day-to-day basis because this window, our capacity, is very, very affected by our health, our emotional state, how tired we are, how stressed we are, what things are going on around us, as well as the amount that we have to begin with is very much based on what our experiences have been growing up. To a certain degree, we're actually born through our DNA. We're actually born with a lot of characteristics, and one of the things we have is our sense of resilience, our inner strength, our ability to just be able to manage things. And you know, when we're born, babies have certain characteristics and they just stay. They're born with that. And so there can be an element of nature versus nurture, but nurture plays a massive part in it. When we're growing up, if our carers are extremely anxious and react to things, then we learn to be either reactive as well. We learn that the slightest thing means a huge, great big drama, or we learn not to respond to things so it doesn't set our carers off. And our resilience and our capacity, it's an innate thing. It's a felt sense thing. It's not so much to do with the head. Our heads can get overwhelmed and go offline, but that means that your body, your nervous system, is overwhelmed and is beyond its capacity. And it sends your head offline. It's not the other way around. When we're having catastrophizing thoughts about things going wrong, then we're getting that message from our body. When we can calm the body, this calms down almost instantly. And so it's much harder to try and do it top down. It's much easier to do it bottom up. If we have a secure attachment, then that means that our carers have responded in a way that's appropriate to what's going on. So when we're little and we fall over, and you know, it's always a big shock to a toddler when they fall over. If the parent goes, "Rah!" and you know, completely overreacts, you know, and rushes them off to A&E, then you learn that the slightest thing has a huge output, and that's not going to develop a capacity to cope. If the carer goes, "Oh no, you've fallen over," so they match the mood and the emotion in the moment, and you know, don't dismiss and don't minimize what's happened. But then very quickly it's like, "Oh look, you're okay, let's get you up," and do. That child learns that you can fall down, it can be a bit alarming, a bit of a shock, might even be slightly painful, but you recover quickly. So that little thing doesn't knock everything out. That increases your capacity, and also it increases your confidence that if anything goes wrong, I'll be okay, it will be fine. Or if anything goes wrong, somebody will come and help me and it will be okay. When children know that the parent is there and they do the right thing because they get over it quickly and they feel better and then go skipping off, then they know that they can trust adults. They know that they can trust their parents. If they get a really inconsistent message every time there's a falling over, that consistency is missing. There's no inner knowing. There's no predictability about what that means. And so that can be quite disconcerting. If nobody ever comes, then that child has to learn to brush itself off, self-soothe, maybe flatten down the emotions and not react. And so therefore that child could quite easily grow into adulthood with nothing being a big deal, not really getting how things are a real problem, real issues for other people. They would lack the empathy because they weren't shown the empathy, and they would lack that kind of judgment of, is this something to be really concerned about, or is this something to, just kind of, oh, it's no big deal. They would lose that discernment. This capacity, our window, it means that we're much more confident going out in the world. Things don't feel as daunting. We are not as scared of the environment because we have this nice capacity. We know that we can take knocks, both emotionally, physically, and it's going to be okay. We will recover. Even if it's like we take a big hit of something, we know that we're going to recover because we've got a lot to play with. Throughout the day, our emotions go up and down, and when we've had little blips, that's what we do when we sleep during our REM sleep phase, rapid eye movement. We process the day's events. We can't process trauma memory there because it's locked in the past and we've got no sense of it being in the present. But we just work our way through some of these little blips so that we wake up in the morning with a clean slate, ready to go, freshly reset nervous system. The more stressed we are, the more anxious we are, the more REM sleep we have to do to try and process, and the more exhausting it feels. It can feel, even although you've had 8 hours sleep, you get up in the morning and you're just as tired, even maybe feeling a bit more tired than when you first went to bed, because you're having to do all that work. Your capacity is reduced because things have happened. Now, there are ways that we can increase our capacity. I know some people, when I start to work with them, they've got very, very little tolerance for emotions. They might be incredibly scared of having emotions, feeling sadness. I'm going to fall into a pit of sadness and I'll never get out because there's so much there. Or anger. If I feel it, I'm going to tear the place down. I'm going to do terrible things. So I can't have it. That means that we've got very little capacity for being upset, for being angry. Emotions are ours. If we feel anger, it can be a very forward moving, right, okay, that's enough. I'm going to do something. We don't have to act out with it. It doesn't have to be destructive. And the more that we can tolerate just having that anger, so you feel an emotion, feel it, allow yourself to sit with it and feel it. You don't have to do anything with it. You're increasing your capacity. When someone gets upset in a session, I will say, just let it come out, allow it to be there, give it permission. It's how we process things. It's how we relate to things. We are mammals that leak and cry. That's part of our emotional regulation and processing. Allow it. So the more that we can have an emotion and it not sends us offline, the more capacity we have to be emotional with things. And that's not just with ourselves, but when other people are emotional. If we've got very little capacity, it's like, oh, I can't deal with that. The more you have, the more you can deal with, the more you can sit with, knowing that it's not going to cause you a problem. If you've got a teeny tiny window, then that means you're going to be more likely to be dissociative. Because if you get knocked out of your window and your hyper arousal, you're going to go offline, you might dissociate, you won't be able to think, you won't be able to function, you know, you might get nauseous, a little bit disorientated, nothing will make sense. We might start to lose a sense of reality. We're not really here. I can see things, but they don't seem real. If we are in that state for a long time, then that dissociation becomes very alarming and very debilitating. Down the bottom end, if we go into hyper arousal, then we're going to shut down. We're going to freeze, shut down, just become very, very quiet, withdrawn, offline, or in a completely dissociated, frozen state that we actually can't think, we can't hear, we can't see, we can't move. You know, there's levels, there's degrees of it. When we're looking at increasing our capacity, the more we have, the easier it is to have a functional life and not worry so much about what's going to happen or what could happen. In sessions, when, you know, I know that people have had difficult things happen to them, traumatizing things, upsetting things, we don't jump into the epicenter of that because they'll probably dissociate and it would be overwhelming and too much. They'd either shut off from the emotion of it, or they would dissociate out of it, or they would have no capacity to think. So we go to the edges of these things, starting to think about it, starting to talk about it, just getting an image of it, and then noticing what's happening in our nervous system. How is that thing affecting us, our internal world, our arms, our legs, what's actually happening? When we can begin to notice the impact that this is having on a low level, then we can learn to regulate it. So if our breath goes really quiet, then we find ways of allowing our breath to just come back out a little bit. And that can be as simple as just putting a hand on your chest and a hand on your stomach, making contact, making connection. For some people that's enough. Sometimes it's enough to just notice that your breath's gone a little bit quiet. Notice how quiet it is. Oh yeah, oh, it starts to actually come back a little bit. Brilliant. You notice the things that are happening. If it starts to go really small, do you need a little bit of strength? You know, you can use whatever you have around you. If it would be feel a bit too self-conscious to put your hands together and push, then you can just dig your elbows. If you've got arms in a chair, dig your elbows in, squeeze, engage the muscles. When you do that, give it a good push and you let go. Does it feel like things are settling down? So when you find your resources, you know, it might be pressing your feet into the floor, moving your feet. It might be tapping your legs to bring the feeling back a little bit if you're starting to go a bit numb, taking your curiosity out to things that are around you, or bringing your eyesight in and just focusing in on what's in front of you, a pattern on the carpet or something, in the here and now. When you know the things that work for you, then use them. And so it means the next time we go up to that level, you know that you can regulate. Might need to do it again. Okay, we'll regulate, we'll do these things. Until you can go to that level, have that thought, that image, whatever it is, and actually, no, it's okay. No, my breathing is okay. Oh, brilliant. So we just go a little bit more into it. And so we go in having the capacity to cope. We're not going in to knock our nervous system out and to take ourselves offline. Every step you can do, every time you regulate from something, you widen your window, you increase your capacity, and that alone increases your confidence. It's like, oh no, I can think about that, I can look at that, and we can practice. You know, we all have things that we're not so keen on, or people we're not so keen on. Think about them. Remember the last situation you had that was really uncomfortable, and notice how it affects you. Take a little bit of a measure to begin with and say, okay, how am I breathing right now? When I take a breath in, does it travel down? Does it stick here? Does it, whatever it is, just note it. There's nothing wrong with it, just note it. And then when you're starting to think about that thing, has it changed? Has that changed? Can you still feel your arms, your feet? Has your body kind of shrunk in a little bit? Is it as easy to breathe? Is your stomach doing anything? Do things look the same around you? You can do a measure And then you can try some experiments to see, does that make it worse? Does it make it better? If it makes it better, brilliant. And if it's a strength thing that makes it better, use more of them. Regulate. Find the things that work so that you can bring your nervous system down. Find that missing piece that actually makes you feel safe to be present and here and just a little bit more settled. It's not rocket science, and it's easy to do because no matter where you are, you've got your body. The more you can learn to notice it, the more you'll be able to get what it's telling you, the messages that it's sending you, and the more you'll be able to help to regulate it. And the more you can do that, the wider your window is going to be. It will make you feel, one, a whole lot more settled, a whole lot more capable and confident. You won't be so scared about going out into the world because you've got your nervous system, you've got this. And you know, we can widen it, we can broaden it, increase our capacity. All of these things are really possible. If there's, you know, something that we just really don't like, get a picture of it, look at it, imagine it in your head and regulate as you're doing it. Make it about you. Take the power away from this thing. Make it about you. And then you feel like you're in control, you've got more control, and you're rebalancing the power differential. Oh, I'm so scared of that because it makes me... Well, how about we notice what it makes me do and help ourselves to do that? Regulate, find resources, have our tools. Write them down so you remember them. So if you do go offline, you can find them in your phone or you've got them on your fridge. So I hope that helps make sense of things. I hope that that resonates with you, that you find it interesting and useful, more important than anything else. And I hope it just encourages more of you to just try some of these things, even if it's just trying noticing so that you can be aware of what your body's telling you, how it's struggling. And then you might be encouraged to just try some experiments, see what works. Your body will soon tell you if it's an experiment that works or if it doesn't. And don't be afraid of, no, that makes it feel worse. Just stop. And that'll give you a clue. If connection and contact feels suffocating and your breath goes, then take it outside. Take it to something that you can push against, that you can use. You know, try some chi energy. Just experiment. Try different things. And I'm sure you'll find it will make a whole world of difference. And it's really interesting. Bodies are brilliant. So I hope if you've enjoyed that video, you've found it useful, interesting, then you'll give us a like and subscribe to our channel. And I look forward to seeing you again very soon. Bye.